everyone. Today is Wednesday, and the topic this week is talk about Kathy, and that is because my birthday is tomorrow. And I'm not really sure what to do with this topic because I just introduced myself 2 weeks ago, so I'm not sure there's anything new to say about myself. So I thought instead of trying to come up with more things to say about myself, I would read you an excerpt from the novel that I wrote this year. So here it is. Kat quickly threw on her jacket and left the house quietly through the back door. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out and it was the perfect fall day, cool with a light breeze, not too cold and not too hot. A perfect day for exploring. She loved exploring. When she was alone with nature was the only time she really felt alive these days, aside from in that dream, of course. She didn't fit in at school, and she didn't fit in at home anymore, but she always fit in with the trees around her. She walked straight for the woods, feeling happier than she had in a long time. After walking into the woods for a few minutes, she came across what she could only think to describe as a path. It wasn't a traditional path. The trees were just close together, and the ground was just as covered in broken branches and fallen leaves, but there was a strange blue light that seemed to be illuminating the way. Kat was sure this was all in her head, a trip into the forbidden woods, mixing with her dream of the blue crystals, but she followed it anyway. As she traveled, she became more and more convinced that this light was more than just her imagination. It seemed so real. She could feel it calling to her, as if she was meant to find whatever lay at the end. But it kept going deeper and deeper into the woods. In the back of her mind, Kat began to worry that she wouldn't be able to find her way back. She'd been walking for over an hour, following a twisting path of light that could disappear at any moment. But somehow she felt sure that wouldn't happen, and she needed to find out what was waiting for her at the other end. After a while, she began to see a brighter blue glow ahead on the path, and she picked up her pace. The journey had been very pleasant so far, but now that she could see her destination, she felt like it was taking forever to get there. She broke into a run, not caring about the low-hanging branches that whipped her in the face and shoulders as she went, not watching for roots sticking out of the ground. She nearly tripped twice, but kept up her pace until she finally reached a small clearing at the end of the path that glowed bright blue. Sweating and panting, it took her a few moments to figure out where all the blue light was coming from. But finally, she saw it, and it took her breath away. The door stood in one end of the clearing between two trees, completely surrounded by blue crystal. It was not quite as spectacular as the huge crystals in her dream, but it was close. The crystals gave off the same energy, making her feel alive and full of happy energy that she ever had outside of her dream world. She watched them nervously for a few moments, waiting for them to crack and disappear into nothingness as they always did in her dream. But they didn't. They just stayed there shining out their positive blue energy. She supposed that she should have been surprised to find his freestanding door surrounded by crystals in the middle of the woods, but somehow she wasn't. It was almost as if she was meant to find this place, as if it were where her dreams had been leading her all these years. She walked to the door and touched each cool crystal, marveling at their sturdiness and their realness. These crystals were really here, right in front of her, and they weren't going anywhere. Then she ran her hand over the smooth wood of the door, wondering what was on the other side, and then feeling silly because she could clearly see the woods was on the other side. Even so, as her hand reached the doorknob, she felt herself becoming more and more excited. This was it. This was what she'd been looking for her whole life without even knowing it. The doorknob was warm under her hand. Not what she'd expected the metal to feel like in the cool autumn air, but it was welcoming at the same time. She twisted it, and the door opened easily, and somehow she was not surprised to find it was not the woods waiting her inside the door. So, anyway, that is an excerpt from my novel, and I am hopefully going to be self-publishing it sometime this year. If you'd like to help me out with that project, I will link my Kickstarter page down below. And otherwise, I will see you next week. Bye.